Episode 9 of The Handmaid's Tale is perfect. I'm going to be bold and just say it. It is. It's gone down as one of the highest-rated episodes the show has ever produced, and I don't disagree with that in the slightest. I understand that for the most part this season has felt below par, with rushed writing and some uneven pacing, but that doesn't take away from the power and significance of this most recent installment. If anything, it highlights how exceptional this episode truly was. Season 6, Episode 9 was a great piece of television for a wide array of reasons. It tapped into our emotions, captured the tone and mood of an oppressed nation, and still managed to let revenge and hope shine through for those fighting for freedom. It had this natural rhythm that constantly felt like it was building towards something big, and it absolutely delivered. So with that, I want to discuss why this episode was so good, and I want to know if you agree. Let's get into it. Just a heads up, this video will contain spoilers. The decision to kill Lawrence and Nick. One of the boldest decisions the show made was to kill off both Commander Lawrence and Nick, in the same scene no less. Most of us expected Nick to survive and appear in the Testaments, considering he's referenced several times in the novel. So seeing him die in such a heartbreaking way while June stood by helplessly really took many viewers by surprise. Nick's death hit hard. June's pain was palpable, not just because she loved him, but because she had already emotionally walked away from him. That was symbolically portrayed a few episodes back at the wedding when she chose not to approach him. Still, she cared. That care was reflected in her reaction when he stepped onto the plane. June was faced with an ultimatum: save Nick and risk exposure and death, or let him go and secure justice for the greater good. Just like Nick had once stood by and let the girls in Jezebel's die, June did the same to him. It was a painful but necessary decision. What made this moment even more impactful was the contrast in motivations between Nick and Lawrence. They both boarded that plane having been aligned with Mayday at one point in their lives, but in the end, their intentions diverged dramatically. Nick chose self-preservation. He sided with Gilead not because he believed in its ideology, but because he feared being nothing outside of it. He admitted to June that she wouldn't have loved him if he hadn't been someone, and that insecurity drove his decision to conform, even when it meant turning away from what was right. Commander Lawrence, on the other hand, died fighting for something bigger than himself. He boarded the plane fully aware of his fate, hoping to take out commanders like Wharton and pave the way for a better future. His goodbye to Angela and Naomi was a clear indicator. His emphasis on teaching Angela, his request for her to draw him colorful pictures, there was finality in his words and in the soft smile he wore. It was devastating because we knew he wouldn't be coming back. That moment as Lawrence stood at the top of the steps, placing his hand over his heart while locking eyes with June, it was a quiet, powerful goodbye, a man making peace with his fate and hoping his death would lead to change. The moment Nick said that Rose told him to get on the plane and Lawrence coldly replied, "You should have listened to her," sent chills down my spine. It was such a cold but truthful line that emphasized the cost of ignoring warnings from the people who care most. As the camera lingered on the commanders seated on the plane, I started wondering if we were going to witness the explosion or if it would cut to black. But the falling debris and the orange glow lighting up June's face made it clear. It was haunting, emotional, painful. Two fan-favorite characters gone in one moment. Nick's death felt justified. He picked his side. But Lawrence, his loss hit hard. He was never supposed to be on that plane. The way the show handled the deaths of these two major characters was poetic, unexpected, and emotionally impactful. Elizabeth Moss's performance and direction. Elizabeth Moss was phenomenal in this episode. The execution scene will go down as one of the most memorable in the series. Some people criticize the show's overuse of close-ups on June's face, but in this case, it was the perfect choice. There was nowhere to hide. Every tear, every tremble, it was raw and authentic. Her emotional speech before the execution had so much weight behind it. That single tear rolling down her cheek spoke volumes. When the chaos erupted and she was lowered from the gallows, her eyes alone conveyed terror, defiance, grief, and resolve. Another standout moment was the final scene, when she couldn't bring herself to warn Nick about the bomb. The inner turmoil in her eyes said it all: regret, sorrow, fear. When Nick paused on the steps, waiting for her to say something, the tension was unbearable. As the debris fell and June stared upward, her expression held a mix of mourning, responsibility, and a glimmer of hope. She knew the cost of progress, and she allowed that sacrifice to happen. That complexity was beautifully portrayed. I didn't realize Moss directed the episode until the credits rolled, and I was incredibly impressed. Her direction was outstanding. The scene of June walking to the gallows was haunting. The camera framing, with June front and center, surrounded by the other handmaids and Aunt Lydia, it was masterfully composed. Every shot carried weight. Other scenes were just as effective. Serena running down an open road at night was filled with vulnerability, showing she had nowhere to hide. The surprise capture of the handmaids at the border was also unexpected and essential, setting the entire episode into motion. The way those moments were shot helped to elevate the stakes and intensity across the board. The music and score. The music and score were another standout element that elevated this episode. Using "Look What You Made Me Do" by Taylor Swift in the opening scene was a genius move. It perfectly reflected the handmaid's mindset and the consequences the commanders were facing. The title says it all. It wasn't a choice, it was a reaction to years of brutality. But the execution scene score was the emotional peak. The silence during the speeches created an eerie stillness. Then, as the fighting broke out and June was rescued, the music swelled. A breathtaking composition that captured the chaos, sacrifice, and fleeting sense of hope. It sounded like a war anthem mixed with sorrow and determination. It almost brought me to tears. The score was a defining reason why this episode worked so well and felt perfect. Final thoughts. Episode 9 was genuinely one of the strongest episodes The Handmaid's Tale has ever delivered. Yes, Season 6 overall may have felt inconsistent or underwhelming at times, but this episode stood above it all. It was the culmination of 6 seasons of storytelling, pain, survival, resistance, and it gave us the payoff we needed. Even though some viewers feel it doesn't deserve the perfect label because of the season it belongs to, I strongly disagree. The effort, care, and attention to detail that went into this episode was clear. It felt earned, it felt necessary, and it felt right. With only one episode left, this one will be incredibly difficult to top, because honestly, I think it was perfect. So there you have it, why The Handmaid's Tale. Season 6, Episode 9 is perfect. If you want to see breakdowns for every episode this season, check the playlist below. There's just one episode left, so now's a great time to catch up. What did you think of Episode 9? Was it perfect for you too? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.